Hello everybody, welcome back to the Chuuni clan. This is Twinkle and Rika. We are going to be back here with another Shadowverse Evolved video. This time we're going to be going over another the upcoming set BP04 Cosmic Mythos. So we're going to cue the intro and get into it. Alright, at the time of this recording, we are roughly 5 days away from the release of BP04 Cosmic Mythos. This is going to be quite the exciting set, especially after coming out of BP03 Flame of Levitating. And there's going to be a lot of things that happen that kind of like, we'll have some carryovers from the Levitating that still matter, and some new things. Saying, of course, this is usually what we would call a winners and losers of the expansion series, but unironically, we're gonna find that every class and neutrals all got something well worth it. Like this is like one of Geass says, like this is almost like BP01 Advent of Genesis, kind of like a soft reboot to the game in a way. Do you feel like you get that vibe?
I feel it's more so a good mixture of doing some great sets while also slowly integrating archetypes. Like I know the last set we had a lot of archetypes that were added, but I think what's really just good about this is that we're also kind of appealing towards decks that were released even before Uma set, which was something I did wish that SV kind of expanded on, because there were kind of some decks that were like stuck in the mud, and now we can kind of see some revamp.
We see some revamps. We see some new things. It's going to be a great it's going to be a great revitalization of game. I think this is going to be one of the more enjoyable formats for a lot of people as we will go through. So let's go ahead and kind of go through.
I will say before we start too, I think the thing that didn't really appeal for people of Flame of Leviathan was, I feel like people kind of got burnt out like in the middle more so. I know there was a big drop of player side just because I think a lot of people kind of figured out what were like the thorough tops and stuff like that. Granted, we saw a lot of innovation in the tournament side, which was quite interesting. But I really think that this kind of format just overall solved, especially if you're like one-tricking a deck, it's really tricky too.
Right. And, it's kind of a blessing and curse with the whole like quality of life that BP03 Flame of Levitating brought into the fray. Again, you can kind of check our video that's come up before on why BP03 Flame of Levitating brought in all of this quality of life. There'll be a little card right there on the upper right corner for y'all to click. But anyway, I think from there we can go ahead and talk through it class by class, right? So we have to begin with another again, Forestcraft. Oh man, Forestcraft. Get this thing, go to the gym. It got some very nasty cards. It got some very OP cards. A Cassiopeia is a very good AoE solution. Like it's basically Fire Chain and Runecraft on fucking steroids.
I mean, it's not exactly what Forestcraft kind of needs. I think Forestcraft, which we'll be getting soon, I think in the future, AoEs. I think the issue is that this still needs to target something, and it
can't bypass armor. Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing too. I kind of want Forestcraft, and we'll get it soon because there are cards that will be coming out soon.
Right.
On the future that will have better AoEs, but this is more so a target and just basically select any number.
Right. But I do like that she checks for EX area. Forestcraft is kind of one of the classes, especially in both combo forward side uses. You're going to be using Fairy Wisps moving forward in the more traditional combo deck. If you're playing Fable Forest, Cassiopeia still makes sense because you are going to generate EX area from your Alice Wingrat Explorers, your Woodland Bards, etc. So
I think Fairy is also probably the strongest archetype for this card, just because you're going to probably play like still Aria, you're probably still going to play like Fairy Circle, still going to play a lot of different cards that will implement the EX area.
Definitely. And moving from combo, we go to one of the most dangerous finishers in the entire game. We had to go over to King Elephant.
I'm really excited about this.
Basically, Forestcraft has always been good at just making very good face damage across its powerful face plays of setting up early Ancient Elf, setting up early Crystalia Tia, and Silent Susika still nasty, right? But
Yeah.
as long as the opponent
Even Silver Bolt too, you can like
Silver Bolt
pop
just
the
to
Silver
go
Bolt
right.
without thing. But there hasn't really been a strong card like this one, where it's basically double hand checks just to scale up. And this can lead to some powerful stuff, kind of like what Rhinoceros was entailing to be. Basically, we play a lot of cards in this, but this one is just basically you conserve your cards, and then you
Right.
see.
Well,
And it's
yeah,
led to also some things when I've done testing with. You can go King Elephant and have like a lot of amulets. They're not going to destroy those amulets most of the time, unless you have like a Maka Hauser or a Execution or any really destroying amulet side. Not a lot of things do that, so it's a great thing to kind of have something like that Havencraft amulet playstyle, but more so bouncing and getting benefits off.
right. And the fact that, yeah, Silence is a very good removal to get some face damage in, as I remember some people were still playing 18 Flash, but when the opponent setting up multiple wards, which moving forward in this specific expansion, multiple wards in one turn would be very much a reality. Outside of Silver Bolt, getting lethal for Forest is basically near impossible in that situation, but King Elephant's evolve to ignore ward while having the Storm is absolutely disgusting. The idea is that if you ward up, you probably spend pretty much every play point for the most part to set up that many wards, right? So you wouldn't have any clicks to respond to the King Elephant that's gonna smash you in for like 8+ face damage in one turn.
Yeah. What's also really cool about this is that this kind of also counters the meta at the moment. I think people have kind of seen the resurrection of Erd. And I think what they want to do is probably destroy that King Elephant and push it into the EX area. It's pretty vulnerable still, but I think what's really key is that if they don't destroy that, then it still gives you a lot of benefit, because you can go play it down again and then hand check again and then start pushing on thing. And then also one thing to also go about the meta, I do think that the big weakness I've seen with Forest is that it gets slowed down by ward. Even just a one single ward, it has to take a lot of knowledge or a lot of commitment, like Dacian Flashes or really anything like Rose Gardener or such like that. It's really tough overall for Forest.
For sure. But yes, King Elephant definitely offering a new top end. It's gonna really help traditional combo-based Forest decks a ton, I would reckon. Speaking of combo-oriented decks, oh man, Fashion needs to know, so this card's cracked. The ability to carve your board by +2/+2 or -2/-2 is something on the opponent's board. I like that, just need to be coming down on fanfare for combo 3. You just have to simply have enable combo 3 on the turn that she's on the board. Then you engage her to do the thing. I like her versatility.
I'm kind of a mixed bag with this. It's obviously a good card. I don't think we can deny a -2/-2 especially is really good commodity to have. I will say that if you are playing it at the turn, it's going to be really tough, though. It only targets one. It doesn't, like, mass spam. The 2 might be enough, but it can also be notably wiped.
For example, I think her ability, I see it more as, like, you use it to buff up something like an Ancient Elf Evolve, so she becomes a 7/7. That's basically near impossible for most decks to get rid of outside of Bane plus Assail or multiple spells. Boosting up a Crystalia Eve token to a 6/6 or 7/7 if you did evolve. I think that's pretty powerful.
The only really downside I still see, and I think it's more of a risk of playing this card, is that you probably need to have a commitment on this turn. I don't think you want to do, for example, play down Fashionista, and then that just gets wiped off the face of the earth. Right. I think that's just the only issue
I have with the card. You kind of expect her to die immediately after you use it. But
but even then, it's like you need a commit combo 3. It's like the only idea I can see is like you can go Fairy Wisp and only play like 2 play points and do the thing. But that's not what you're going for. You're going for...
No, she's more like a turn 4, turn 5, make a stupidly big board, make something stupidly big that it needs 4+ play points to get rid of for the most part, if that makes any sense.
You just have to have a lot of commitment. I feel like this card, despite it being pretty good on paper, I feel like it could be a bit tricky for people to play stuff, because you might need a lot of committed play points, and depending on what type of deck you go, you might have some other lines of play that you probably would have better upside. But again, that's probably how I just feel. It's still a good card. I just think that there's some notable risks to have on this card, and I think people will probably see that later on. I guess we'll move on to the next one.
I personally would be specific if I see the deck or the card in mess. Spring Green Protection. I love this card.
This is a really good card. Yeah.
It being a one card means like it being a combo 3 is very much doable, and upon it being removed, so you bouncing or what have you, free Fairy Wisp, easy.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the
value is so real.
And remember, if we go back to the King Elephant top end idea, is that these are not going to be touched for good. So you can still get basically Fairy Wisp, and then you can go play them too. What's interesting idea of some people doing is they get the Fairy Wisp, and then they're okay with removing out the Fairy Wisp. They're bouncing still. But it's still overall good. There's a lot of different avenues you can go with this card. And even then, it's like another good stacker. This pairs really nice with Harvest Festival. These are like the 2 best amulets in Forestcraft right now.
Oh yeah,
so
totally,
definitely.
totally. I just love that Forestcraft's like low-key playing like some Havencraft shenanigans with in conjunction with Nature's Guys to like just Omega Profit. Oh, speaking of Profit, hit easy
This
face
arguably has
damage.
to be my favorite card.
Circular, Brave, and Small. This card is disgusting.
This card is
evolves
still being
to have
played.
Storm.
This card is still being played in Japan too, but
Right.
not like the idea people are going to probably do in set 4. I think set 5 and onward, I think everyone's going to go.
But the fact that she's still able to like be easy face damage just means that we gotta talk about that the English game lets you play in a more aggressive manner. And Circular, Brave, and Small is like a very good facilitator. You know, Forestcraft is like one of the classes you go to when you want to play for face damage. So this card just accelerates that even further. Evolve to a 2/2 Storm. Combo 3, she becomes a 3/3 Storm. If you God roll the combo 5, she becomes like a what? 4/4, 5/5 Storm. Like that's just
5/5.
That's disgusting.
But especially coming out in a couple of sets, it's going to really be apparent where aggro is going to be really good for
aggro will be a thing. Speaking of aggro, Elf Song may not sound too useful now. It's clearly meant for fairy-oriented decks, and Fable's not for fairy-oriented deck. Bolt/Elephant, OTKs are not exactly fairy-oriented. But I could see people like they're already starting to build the groundwork for a fairy-centric aggro mid-range archetype. We still have good fairy cards from way back when. Rika mentioned Fairy Circle, Aria, Fairy Princess. Those are still very powerful cards to use.
A lot of people don't actually, unfortunately, like the card, but at the moment right now, in terms of Aria, it can still be very good because, like, say you play Aria and you have like another play point or 2 play points open, which is still a lot of commitment, but it's gonna be worth it because, like, just scaling those followers, and you scale Aria herself too. It's pretty good to use on that. But the other thing too, I would say. The next one, I think it's like probably the last one out of the
Ivy Spellbomb is just good target removal, and we play as a combo 3. It's also a demonic strike.
I will say too, if people don't like playing like Riko Kashimoto in these decks, this is like a really good alternative. I
feel in general, Forestcraft, especially if you're playing more like a traditional combo-oriented build, we're just trying to keep a board state almost all the time. Riko Kashimoto playing Profession does not make a lot of sense. You just pretty much always have.
It was able to help deal with that 3 damage that's necessary instead of just playing like a direct demonic strike or something.
But Ivy Spellbomb being a Serpent Wrath plus demonic strike is pretty neat.
If you meet the condition, which is still very good.
Next class is Swordcraft. Swordcraft, it got a few new toys. They had to kind of cover, Heroic did get too powerful, so we're not going to give Swordcraft too many things in this next set, but Mars White Flame General, this card is crazy good. It busts all officers by +1 as they come down, and a lot of the things you play in aggro heroic are all officers. So she's also a 3-drop. She is a possible powerful grab off of heroic entry.
Overall, the thorough buff of 1 extra attack, just having that is still just really good.
And then her ability to tutor on top of your other tutors in Sword. Her existence basically means that Sword can stop playing Maid Leader for the most part. It's pretty cheap, and the search is like pretty flexible given how many play points you have at some point during the game. She benefits both aggro and mid-range builds.
Well, I really love the touch of you get to pick how much, and that's a great thing about the flexibility of Swordcraft. You can have a lot of different avenues. It's a similar idea as Avid Blader, where Avid Blader you can go pick 2 officer, which is just basically your choice. So this one's in a similar boat. It's like you can pick as much cost, and then
Mars good. Perseus is another good aggro tool. It has the classic 1-drop 2/2 stat line. Could become a 3/3 easy. You still want to stick with mid-range. You still want to play with Leonidas Resolve, that stuff. I think the round table engine across Gawain of the round table, Tristan of the round table, the round table assembly, these are all good cards to have. These are very good tutors. Get play point refunds, you get a lot of buffs. You can do all sorts of shenanigans.
Potentially could be a nice style. And gives also people Swordcraft instead of just playing heroes. Because I know a lot of people don't like heroes in terms of how it is played. They kind of want to go more into that
Back to
traditional
back to the
aggro.
like having a Genesis Bahamut style
Yeah,
mid-range
basically want
sword.
to go into that style.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and I
totally.
think that's pretty much it for
Yeah,
Swordcraft.
definitely. All right.
And it doesn't really shine overall, but I think that it's
These are good
still pretty
additions.
solid.
Multiple Swordcraft builds benefit from these new cards.
Yeah.
That's why like it's still a winner, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So the
Runecraft.
next thing for Runecraft, I will also make a
This thing
small.
definitely.
I'll make a small disclaimer on this. Spell chain was really bad last set, unfortunately,
It
and
really was.
it's not in the fault in that. It's because I feel like a lot of people were kind of underwhelmed with the way Runecraft was kind of going. Again, they were introducing new archetype in chess, and they were also trying to buff up dirt. But if you like spell chain, we finally got some better tools. So
You do. So one of the biggest things with Spell Chain was you just lacked enough ways to actually win the game, especially against decks that could really heal out a chunk. And now you have Giant Chimera. Giant Chimera would slap the opponent silly. Spell Chain can slap 5. This is basically Micro Golem on steroids. Slap 5 to board, slap 5 to face. Spell Chain 20, slap 10 to board, slap 10 to face. If you are overcommitting, Spell Chain 30, eat the 20.
You know what's really cool is that I've seen people even try to add D-shift in this, despite the risk of it, which is quite interesting. But again, people like to play like the super high deck curve.
I think the idea with Dimension Star is more of an alternate win con as opposed to, well, I cannot rely on Giant Chimera to win the game all the time.
Yeah, and then that's the thing we're kind of talking about earlier with Silverbolt, right? Is like we're trying to not make Silverbolt like the focus anymore. So this is another good idea of having a better
Burn damage is like one of the best forms of damage in this game because pretty much nothing can stop it. Okay, speaking of spell chain, Star Reader Stella is a very good deck manipulator while also accelerating your spell chain. She's basically like a good sorcery cast replacement sort of deal. That card's great. Chain of Calling is another neat spell to just easily find your giant chimeras and stuff like that. It's a huge.
And that one play point recovery on spell chain.
Right, you know, just like Fate Sand as spell chain can. Very handy. And Dazzling Healer is a very good way to kind of stay in the game. The thing that Runecraft lacked in general was healing. So a lot of damage that Runecraft receives is permanent. So with Dazzling Healer, that's no longer an issue. And on top of healing, Concentration is another heal card. It's more of a dirt card, but I could see this being used in the likes of Spell Chain just because it is a spell that cantrips and heals 3. That doesn't sound all that bad. And while we're in the subject of, say, healing, right? Runecraft can now unironically enter the realm of a true control deck. We have Word Wielder Ginger. This card is disgustingly hilarious and you are able to survive long enough to get her fanfare and her evolve going to plop down a bunch of followers. Their fanfares don't activate, but you know, from way back in BP01, it's a very powerful D-cover card. That guy has no fanfare, but it's like one of the best cards of that set. Lucifer. How about you just drop down 3 Lucifers with World Wielder Ginger evolved on top of fanfare, and at end of turn you heal 12, and your opponents deal with a 6/6 and 3 6/7s.
Yeah,
that's pretty hard. You don't play board wipe. You don't even. Dirt also got Starseer's Telescope. It is a free 0-cost Earth Sigil. Not too shabby. And we can mention one other card here.
I'll mention Magic Owl. This card gets played a great amount in Kuan, and again, we're still waiting for 2 more sets. Again, I think set 6 is really where Runes can shine. This card has been played a lot, and what's really good about this is that this is exactly the kind of condition that will really help that archetype later on. But even if it helps right now too, pushing that, it's only a 1/1 that has Rush, but it has both fanfare and last word. So like if you want to tank one card,
it's super value. It means that you don't need to keep playing, say, Penguin Wizard or Craig of Mysteria.
Seriously, you can still play Penguin Wizard.
You could still.
Idea.
You could.
But they do lose some tempo on that. This one you kind of go immediately in, like if you go second on the draw.
It's very consequential. And on top of that, just refer back to our video on why JP restricted Curse Crafter as to why this idea of having constant discard draw in a bunch of tiny things, cheap things, was very powerful.
Well, let's go to the next one. The next one is Dragon. Not a lot of people are talking about this, but... Well, I mean, I know a lot of people are talking about this, but like more so in my scene too. Python. You just go banish 10 and banish
Right.
10 again.
So
So this is going to be really good for the really people that love the high cost
but
builds.
basically Jabberwock turbo builds where you could purposely thin your deck down so that every hit in your deck moving forward is going to be a good hit.
I know a lot of people who
And, you know,
are really excited to cook with this card.
It sounds like banish 10's like a bad downside, right? But let's remind ourselves, during the Flame of Levitating format, Dark Alice was a very powerful Abyss finisher in conjunction with 2 Coco tokens from Cerberus. Do that with Azazel, you die.
I will say too, Python, because I didn't realize this too, I think, it's an 8-9 stat line on Evolve, and the Evol is E1. That's a lot of still good stats. You don't even have to rush the card.
For 7 total resources, you get 8-9. Yes, 20 cards are gone, but you're basically going, those are 20 cards I no longer need to win the game.
It's basically like a similar idea of how people were trying to tech in Bahamut. They knew it was like real high cost. They wanted to also do it for a stat line. This is a very good stat line, I will say.
Right.
And then, like it's all mentioned, this is not when they're or loser. It's like there. Going back from Levitating Dragon, it will get 2 more form. It will get 2 more form. We're not going to really go over this, but ARM does get better, quote unquote. But at least it's something different from ARM. I think the introduction of ARM is just very tricky. But that is something to definitely keep in mind too. Is that Levitating Dragon? It's not going to be at like the forefront, but I could see people possibly trying this out.
People might still give it a chance. Defense form for the
It is better emo abilities than the first form.
Or blast form for the AOE.
But those are not the ones to talk about. Let's actually talk about the main ones too. Starting with
alright, similar to Waterworm. Oh, I love this card. Probably with traditional hot mid-range control strategies in Dragoncraft with using ramping all was really, let's say you do 60 ramp on turn 2 with Dragon Oracle. You had trouble kind of following up on that because you'll lose tempo with doing another Oracle in later parts of the game for another ramp, and you want to do something like 9 drops on turn 7 or something, right? And that was a risky move, but similar to Waterworm, unless it hurt to be so much more impactful, it's already a decent 3-4 stat line, and when you put it at Overflow, it becomes a 4-5 that also grabs you, and she also heals you at end of turn. So your opponent has to go, okay, not only get you ramp, you also have a kind of bulky body as a 4-5, and you heal Q on top of that. That's a very good way to ramp while keeping tempo going. Your opponent has to go, there's a 4-5 here. It's not something you can just leave alone.
And remember people too, is that the Shenlong hit was in set 3 for JP, but set 2, I believe, in English.
Correct, that's correct.
So if you miss that like healing aspect of Shenlong Evo,
right,
this is good because at least you'll still keep getting.
It's basically a Draconic Fervor on legs.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like
that's kind of how good it is. She's going to allow Dragoncraft. Let's say you did ramp on turn 2 with Oracle, you ramp this on turn 6 because they're at overflow by that point. On turn 7, you now have 9 play points. You could now unironically Bahamut on turn 7.
Alright, let's move on to another one. This is a new archetype, I guess, quote unquote. PDK. Quite interesting. I actually am really intrigued to see how people got the concept. Right, so I know some people in Japan sporadically jumped into PDK.
PDK unironically allows for 3 different builds. You could use your traditional discard build because all of your Hellflame Dragon tokens are 2 costs. So when they come down, she'll trigger to do the burn to the board, burn 1 to face, and she's incremental burn damage on top of your Draco Master's Rights and other burn shenanigans you're playing the deck anyway, so it kind of makes sense there. And then she also allows for an aggro deck because you encourage to play a lot of low-cost Dragon Forwards, which BP04 gives you more of, by the way. You could then play an aggro build that will just try to do a bunch of face damage with PDK. Then you just kind of go for like her in a mid-range shell where you just play a few small followers and just kind of use PDK more as a way to deal with aggro so that you don't end up having to lose your entire board by having to go all in with Conflagration as an example. I think with Dragoncraft is, unless you were able to have Blazing Breath, Dragon Warrior Splash, Knuckle Dragon Draconeer in the earlier turns of the game to deal with opponent's aggro, it was very easy to get overwhelmed, and Prime Dragon Keeper kind of lets you check on aggro a little better.
And then also you can kind of put them on a clock in a way, basically.
Right. Those burn ones add up quickly.
We definitely saw that with Dracomancer's Rights. So, anyway, so you go to the next one. So, do you like wanting to play Heart Control in Dragon, quote unquote? We have Lightning Blast, which is basically Hair Evolutions. If you play it for actually, this basically is Hair Evolutions in a way.
It basically is.
Yeah, which is so funny that they added one.
This could see some fringe, but again, the fact that you can now ramp consistently to, like, say, turn 7 with 9 play points, turn 8 with 10 play points, this could see some fringe play.
And I mean, then you also banish one opponent. Remember, banish is really hard, other than like Havencraft.
Right, it's one of your few answers to something like Dark Hours. Okay.
And rounding off the few other ones.
Yep. Tracking New Fist is a very good card in discard builds, just because you don't always have a kill to discard with your Dragonstone Flute. So Dragon New Fist being an easy discard, and it comes back to your board as an easy burn 3. Not too shabby, in my opinion. Dragon River Matilda is a very good Dragon Summoner complement for the PDK like aggro and mid-range decks, where you just can easily find more forwards and like keep your gas going. Aqua Nereg is 2 procs of Prime Dragon Keeper in 1 card because of her summoning the Mega Lorca token. That's pretty nice. And Overflow, here's a Mega Lorca with Storm. And Dragon Geass, I love this card. Dragon Geass is even more heal, and at Overflow, it even draws a card. This amulet is cracked.
I remember we're talking about the amulets, how they don't get really think that might just be on staying forever. I mean, that's what also discard Dragon was like too as well.
Right.
So.
Getting rid of those amulets was pretty much like the only way to like prevent them from running away with the game and snowballing all that damage, right? Alright, we move on to Abysscraft.
Abysscraft, which, if you all know that, we're gonna get this to the end, but Code Geass, the leader, Lelouch, is going to be in this class.
I like how we just go. We didn't mention like the other Code Geass list, like every other class so
we're gonna
far.
mention at the end. I want to mention it now because I know a lot of people want Demon Lord Ishtar.
Ektar. Speaking of Demon Lord Ektar, this guy gives pretty new life to Necro Charge focus builds. This is kind of like where we start to see an actual branching path of the 2 keywords of Abysscraft, like actually take on like real distinct identities instead of being like a mismatch of the 2 in an aggro build or the 2 in a control build sort of deal.
Yeah.
You're gonna like actually have like a distinct identity. And Demon Lord Ektar is a very good way to kind of have a very powerful tempo swing with his ability to resurrect 2 cheap cards, resurrecting Demoniums, give them rush, and power them up. It's not bad. I've also seen people go, we could bring back Lesser Mummy from the Abysscraft starter deck to have a 3/3 Storm, or even a 5/5 Storm if we're at Necro Charge 20. That sounds pretty nasty if we do it right.
And I will also say that it also has one card in the field, each of your Abysscraft.
Right.
Like, so like you basically have great. I think that's the thing that Abyss did struggle at times. Like it either had Storm or you had the way with Summoning Sickness, but otherwise you can have this on the field.
Right. Demon Lord Ektar is a very good mid-range enabler, very good tempo swing in general as a summon card. Even bring it back with a list of Death Breath. Speaking of other shenanigans, now we go to Sanguine. Howling Demon. Howling Demon gives a renewed life to aggro decks, especially if you focus more on Sanguine as your keyword. Think the lines of Skeleton Fighter, Dark General, etc. This guy can just do a bunch of damage for no reason. This guy also takes out board. I think this guy's gonna make a very appreciated top end for aggro decks. What say you?
The only really scare I have is the E3 or an E2 or an E2+1. But otherwise, I think it's pretty solid overall. I would say this will take a bit of turn, so you might sometimes just have the card and it might be, oh, this might be a dead card for a while or such. But we'll see how it works in execution overall.
Oh, for sure. Then going back to Necro Charge, Grave Desecration is a very, Amulet.
It's a very fitting card name, actually.
Abysscraft has some very funny card names. I was just putting that much. It's just an easy fanfare mill 2, and then we can grab back the party forward. So these are things like the aforementioned Demon Lord Ektar. We can grab back mischievous.
The ghost archetype.
Yeah, the mischievous zombie from BP04, Flame of Levitating for another discard outlet, or for more ghosts, etc., etc.
I know a lot of people love the ghost pushing idea. Right. So it's a great idea.
I'm gonna go over the Frog Bat, where we could banish to evolve, and he can just tack on the healing. He might be handy in some control decks just because him and Demonium would just allow you to get that easy heal going and buy more time to do your actual game.
It could, though. I will say that this is a really small number. I feel like you don't swing. It's like an idea like Archer and stuff like that. The issue is that this can easily be hit.
It can, but I think the fact that this doesn't cost play points or evolution points to evolve is pretty nice.
It's a different type of...
Yes, it's -2 Necro Charge, but again, if you're a control deck, Necro Charge Turbo is not it's far from your priority.
Yeah. All right, we'll get to the next one. This is
All
what
right,
I'm really excited about.
Havencraft. Oh, this thing really won. A lot of things are happening.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's for a lot of different builds. So let's start off
right.
with the build I like. You know me, I'm a huge hard control guy. I've always
Hard
been
control.
I've always been a big advocate of Aegis. And guess what? You want Aegis? We have Aether of the White Wing. Basically, search your deck for a Havencraft follower, different card name from this card that costs less than your maximum play point. Which realistically, you can't cheat this out. So
Right.
it's gonna be 7.
So,
it's gonna be 7 or less, and then put it on the field.
So the idea that we're just about to allude to is that, let's say on turn 9, you'll have 9 maximum play points. Heavenly Aegis costs 8. Equal to White Wing, 7 play points, bring out a Heavenly Aegis. You still have 2 play points left. You can evolve without having to discard 3.
Or you can discard 3 and then play Guardian Sun for the remaining 1 play point. Like, there's still a lot of different avenues.
There's potential here. Like, Eager the
yeah,
White Wing
remember,
is a very nice
your goal
deck.
with Aegis is like, you want it to be like a unstoppable force. Or actually, no, it feels like more the immovable object than the unstoppable force.
Right.
So you kind of want to have it
while using your control tools to keep the opponent at bay from dying before you can set it all up, right?
Then we got Dark John.
John.
Up to this point, it's not really about Aegis. It's more so about some of the other
Yeah,
stuff.
so Dark John's better for like aggro builds or some Fable Burn builds. I think Gemstone, Fable Burn. This card might be hanging as like a little one-up to just push more damage in. And her evolve, but we could do something. We could do a bunch of burn damage for no reason.
I will say too, a lot of the Western side is that a lot of people have been going into the aggro haven a lot recently.
Which makes sense. Again, our culture likes playing face builds, and Gemstone Haven is a very good example.
Yeah, but I think Haven was like more of the unexpected. I know some people have tried this out, but I think the amount of people have been kind of jumping on because they want the sword, but they also want some of the nice flexibility of Havencraft too. So in terms of its amount of spell usage and such, but yeah, there's a lot of different ways I've seen these aggro builds built.
Definitely.
So.
Speaking of aggro, we had to talk about none other than Andromeda. First of all, she has that beautiful 1-cost 2/2 stat line like a goblin, and her fanfare, your ally followers and yourself cannot receive damage until the end of that turn. You cannot get quicked by an intelligence type. You cannot get quicked by a surefire bullet.
But that's not the most important part. The most important part is that you can go Humpty Dumpty and it doesn't die. So
it does not die.
That's exactly what we all wanted.
Like,
just kidding.
Oh, hey, here's now an actual 4/4.
Yeah. Don't worry, y'all. Egg will get kind of worse in terms of annoyance.
So now with Andromeda, Fable Burn Haven does not need to play like this weird temple game. It can actually start to go. We could play real aggressive burn style. Like we will actually hit face with our burn damage.
Remember, everybody, this is not its final form, so enjoy it while you can.
Enjoy it while you can. All right. Now, another good quality of life increase for Havencraft. Oh, Globe of the Starless. This card's beautiful.
Yeah.
We can finally take out those pesky Prism Priestess.
I like Prism Priestess. It just didn't have the upside. Basically.
She did again.
Yeah.
The set basically said goodbye May Leader, goodbye Prism Priestess.
And what's interesting too is that Globe of Stars is a quick. It's a quick.
So it's fanfare, which is the most important part. I would argue. It's the fact that it is ring amulet. Gang because alluding to the fact that as a quick you could pay to engage, draw, and heal.
Yeah, and heal too. It's basically like having a small idea of it's the pay 2, draw 2. It's I know this card.
Sacred Plea.
Yes, Sacred Plea. I apologize to every Havencraft name. For class, okay, but like I completely blanked on that.
Both Rika and I play Havencraft, but we play like the opposite ends of Havencraft. I play I'm gonna get Jeremy that plays the Fable Burn Haven deck.
Yeah, and I'm the person that just says heck no, I'm not letting you play anything. So.
Speaking of heck no, Zoe, Queen of Goldinia. This is another form of removal on a stick. Yes, she has like that drawback of you take some damage and mill 2, but you do draw a card doing that.
I mean, it's basically having Acolyte's Light.
Acolyte's Light on legs. Exactly. Nothing. You know, I've seen some decks going to this card. I could see some people who like that harder removal aspect going to that card as a way to really fuck with some opponent strategies. Another neat no card is Star Torrent. Star Torrent is a 4-cost quick. This could do an AoE to all engaged enemy followers, and if you have an amulet, you also heal 2 on top of that. So
Yeah,
that's not
it's
too
really
shabby.
good for builds like Alana's Prayer. People still play Alana's Prayer, even though it's not as good.
I would call it more as a heal deck, like Alana's Prayer.
Yeah,
matters,
I know, but again,
yes.
I think if your main con is like spam the field too, hey, look, you get the setup, and then you can just pop this card for 4. So
Right. And speaking of healing, Candelabra of Prayers is another good heal complement. The fact that when you just put an amulet down, you heal 1, and I believe Heal Haven still has to play things like Beast Call Aria to actually make board, and because of its ability to make the board while also clearing itself out to make the tiger, I think that ain't too shabby.
All right. And then we get to the one that you're missing. I'm gonna let you have the floor on this one because you are really, really excited about the neutral zone.
Yes. So we have to start with not only the cover card, Israfil.
Which is arguably the best cover card so far.
First off, she looks
beautiful. The second best, I think, is Lucifer, because at least Lucifer, even then, I think
Lucifer's iconic across psychics.
Lucifer's iconic, but I meant more so like the skill type. Like, it was out of all the strong cards, this has to be probably the strongest so far.
Oh yeah,
out of all the cover cards.
So
you want to
card,
explain what this does?
She's like 8 cost, 8/8. She evolves for 1. She fanfare heals 4 and has strike deal 3 to all enemy followers. As an evolve, she is a 10/10 that's really big, and she now has deal 5. So she's basically the combination of Lucifer and Fafnir from earlier in the game. This is like control. Like, if you're a control player, you love Israfil. It's unconditional love.
And I would also say that this also leads to quite interesting combos, I will say.
She's cost 8, so Death Breath can unironically bring her back and give her ward.
Yeah. That's why we'll see a lot of rise of Abysscraft players in the next set.
And again, going back to Dragoncraft, Symbol of the Water Worm means that we can play her down on turn 7 and evolve her. That's pretty disgusting.
As long as you're not Forest, Sword, or it's basically the first 3
If you're Galactic, we can actually play a real control build. Israfil is your girl. No questions asked. Okay, moving on from there, Goblin Princess could be very neat if you're playing a very low curve. Playing a lot of 1-cost things. You're playing D Goblin. This card could kind of go ballistic really quickly by...
I think this card's underrated. I think this card is underrated play. I think people might see it later on.
Yeah, I think the ability to have access to more goblins or more... This is also handy in any deck that plays any kind of neutral cost 1. So goblins for aggro decks, Actispheria for Fable decks. I think that's pretty neat to have. And
remember, Goblin King 2 does have an ability, surprisingly enough.
It's a 4-drop, 6/6 with Ward, and Fanfare. You give every Goblin trait for, or they call it Goblinoid in this game.
Goblinoid. +1/+1. So you're scaling your goblins.
You can scale goblins. You set up correctly, you can make some very disgusting goblin boards. Then we move on from there. Grimnir War Cyclone, I think, wouldn't be too shabby. Him being a 3/4 ward, and if we evolve and then pay additional unevolved cost, we can just do 4 damage to everything and every opponent. That's pretty handy. It's kind of a preview to a later card. I'm going to unironically have to allude back to this card much later down the line. Yeah. So it's like, this is another way for control decks to like get some easy burn and AoE damage in, I would argue.
Next card, I arguably think, is probably one of the best good stuff cards we've seen.
Yep.
Mystic Ring. It's a 1-cost, so if you are prone to bricking, more for the superstitious people, this is your card to kind of
It's basically alter fate without making your opponent's hand better.
Yeah. If you love consistency, this is really good for you.
It's also good for just like say Fable Force, where you don't want to keep drawing into your Beauty and the Beast. This is a good way to put them back into your deck.
Yeah, I don't know the room for this, but it's like one of the better good stuff cards, especially if you want to have more better draw off. Is a potential choice.
Right. It's basically an insight that we can all access, but we do basically minus weighing our hand.
Speaking of cost ones, we have a lot of different cost one neutrals, but Staircase to Paradise.
So the ability for this to just, you're able to just go in with slower decks to be able to, you're looking to like have an interaction of multiple followers to do a bunch of things at once. Like say the aforementioned Ginger Control Runecraft deck. I think this is kind of a must-have to be able to assemble those things more consistently. And I think this is a very neat strategy for things like that. I think if you play the Whirlwind Amulet in Dragoncraft, this is also not a bad idea to assemble a specific thing into your hand to take advantage of Whirlwind, or not Whirlwind, Windmill, to get that early cheat out and go ballistic. Okay, then Zodiac Demon could be a funny way to get some burn damage in for this. He could engage himself, discard a follower to burn damage to a follower equal to the cost. You burn damage equal to the cost of the thing you discarded, and then you burn half of its cost to the opponent. I guess not too shabby as a discard outlet too, so I could see this being like a possible Abysscraft tech to be a way to say discard Israfil, burn 8 to something on board for the face, then follow up with Death Breath to bring back Israfil. That doesn't sound like a bad idea to me. Or you just go, I'm Jabberwock, I have 5 cost 9s and 10s in my hand anyway. Fuck it. Take the 4 or the 5 or whatever. Oh, it's rounding up, so you discard a 9, it's still burn 5 the face. I think I could see Jabberwock playing this.
And then we get to the last card.
Right. Owlcat.
This really works for specific damaging. And I like that too, because a lot of people kind of like to play the strategy of swing into this and then pop something that has specific damage.
So the thing with Owlcat is that it's very good against some of the pesky, say 2/1s or 1/2s they see running around, or even 1/5s. You know, this is a very good out to Penguin Wizard. If they play it down and they can't evolve it yet, they're thinking that, you know, it's 5 defense. Who's gonna try to deal with this? And get cracked by Owlcat.
No, actually, this collapse Archer.
This collapse Archer, this collapse Old Man, Old Woman. Owlcat's more for the guys that lack something like Dragon Warrior or Priest of the Control to be able to evolve and take out something to go 2 for 1. Owlcat is like a way for some slower decks. If you have evolved deck space, you could put Owlcat and have it be your method to go, I too could play that 2 for 1 game that Dragoncraft and Havencraft can with their 3+ evolve followers to go 2 for 1.
And with that being said, we do have one more thing that we want to say is a winner. There's a Geass collab and also some of the other leaders and SPs.
Right, so this time we actually follow Japan 101. We have the actual Geass, the Lucian Rebellion
you have to know
collab.
more Geass about me, so do you want to explain for the people at home what each one is going to entail? So like CC is Forestcraft.
So yeah, C2 is Forestcraft because that's the green hair and everything. It's kind of like seen as like a nature deity of some sort.
Very cute cards, by the way. I like.
We have the alternate art cards as well. So
Cassiopeia one. I like the Cassiopeia one. That one is really wholesome.
Cassiopeia. So yes, all arts for Cassiopeia and Spring Green Protection. And then Susaku Kururugi for Swordcraft because he is a knight and. He has only one alt art card, unfortunately. A Cyclone Blade alt art. That's the only alt art he gets. And Runecraft has to have 2 because Cornelia Lee Britannia was the original Runecraft leader for the Geass Collab in the digital game, whereas Jeremiah Gottwald was the Portalcraft leader. But there's no Portalcraft here in Evolve. Runecraft does get a lot of Portalcraft cards later on. The goals were already technically Portalcraft cards. So Cornelia has an alt art in Chain of Calling, and Jeremiah has an alt art card in Concentration. Then Dragoncraft also gets 2 because Calling Kusiki was originally a Bloodcraft leader, but there's no Bloodcraft here. Whereas Lee Shinke was actually the actual Dragoncraft leader for Geass.
Well, if you love Ruin and Dragon and you love Geass, it's perfect for you.
And then, because here, Colin has 2 alt arts. She has Symbol of the Water Worm and Lightning Blast, and Lee Shinke has the Dragon New Fist alt art card. Then
we have no introduction.
He needs no introduction, yes.
Yes, however, I will say that this is the only one that's signed, which is a bit unfortunate because I know that they have Seiyu signatures in the JP side, but I mean, there's still an opportunity. So
Lelouch has an alt art for Demon Lord Ektar. He has an alt art for Grave Desecration.
And then has the signed signature for the leader.
That's so clean.
Yes. Then we have Abyss. We also have another leader. If you're not into Code Geass, We do have Kari Underworld.
Kawi. So you remember seeing Kawi as a card back in BP02 Ring of Bomb. The 5 cost, 5/5 with the Gaggle Cell Dealer ability.
Right. And the next one, this guy has the most amazing name, I will say.
Chuuni, yes. So Havencraft. So I get a little bit of flack from a fellow content creator, Ray Zayaki. He goes, please stop playing Charles as your Havencraft leader. Please play literally anyone else as your Havencraft leader.
You can play and if you want to play someone else, there's also Lorena Gentle Beauty for Havencraft.
It's a little sad because I don't think Evolve has Lorena cards yet, despite Lorena being on multiple Shadowverse cards in the digital game.
What's really funny too is like, remember how they did Michelle and Prim? It's like a similar idea here too, but this is actually like, I think Japan actually got this too as well. So
This part's actually for the most part 1-to-1 with the Japanese product.
Yeah. And then I guess one last thing too, we just want to highlight everything so we could give everyone some like nice perspective and such. So for everyone who wants to know what are the use, well, there's Lelouch, the SP, and then we have the use, which are going to be Cassiopeia, Gawain. Unfortunate because Gawain has potential, but just not up there. Europa, which also has potential too. PDK, that's going to be nice family. Venom Fang Medusa, Aether of the White Wing. Oh boy, if I put that, would be exciting. And Israfil herself.
I like Israfil, you looks beautiful.
It does. This set, arguably, has the most. I will say it was unfortunate that they didn't announce the Geass collab immediately after set 4 was announced. But the hype I've been seeing of this, it's not just the Geass stuff. It's really about some of these cards that I think are more iconic units in digital Shadowverse. What say you?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of the comics here. These are from I think it was Starforge. I believe was the set that a lot of this is based off of.
Oh, that makes sense with the Havencraft designs. And yeah, I mean, it's another collab. It's a direct collab this time, and especially if you love Code Geass, and going a collector's perspective, this is pretty good. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. For sure. So honestly, like, no matter who you are, you basically won no matter which class you pick, as long as it's not a universe.
And arguably, this is like one of the set winners. I would say Flame of Levantine, it did have like good QOL, but it just a lot of the stuff just didn't shine. It was like an example of giving everybody everything, but nothing at the same time. But this one is basically giving everything and helping everyone at the same time. And helping even stuff that span back too. So if people joined in like set 2, for example, and they didn't really have something, then they have something to go fall back on.
Definitely. Honestly, I think it's gonna be like the set to look forward to. It's one of those everyone benefits.
Yeah, this will also be the last set. Unfortunately, will be the last set before the Showdown series. But
right.
If you're playing in BSFs, this is going to be quite interesting.
It's gonna be great.
I feel like it's the last of the year. I know there's a lot of direct big top dogs, but I honestly feel like it's fair game depending on how people want to build it. This has one of the best spreads out of.
For sure. And I would say this form is going to kind of feel more like generally a cross between aggro and control. I feel.
Yeah.
With big rings popping in here and there.
And combo being a dark horse, I will say, but I'm a bias, so. So, yeah, other than that, thank you all for watching today's episode.
By the way, continue to embrace the darkness. Thank you all for watching. We'll catch you all over in the next video. Bye-bye.
Be in set for more.